Hi everybody and welcome along to this week's watercolour class. I've not opened my chat, so bear with me a second. I forgot to open the chat. It's probably going to ask me to log in now. Yes. Sorry gang, but if you're there and you're chatting, I want to see you. I've just got to enter a code and then we're good to go. I hope you're all well. 3, 4. Okay, we should be good. Excellent. I'm in. So start again. Welcome along to this week's class where I'm taking you off to sunnier climes and we're doing this Moroccan Souk. This is one I did earlier as a little practice while I was away in Manchester. You may have seen me post a picture of it. So this was a very quick sketch. We're just going to put a little bit more detail in than this one, but not loads. People have said they're scared by this one. It looks difficult. But seriously, we're going to simplify the shapes. So inside, this bit inside through the tunnel, we're going to pretty much black out and just have an illusion of something going in. We're not putting detail in there. We want the detail to be about the arch and about the lovely fabrics that are hanging down beside the stalls. So that's the photograph that I gave you. And I have that sketched out on my pad. We're using our usual colours: phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, Hansa yellow, burnt sienna, and Friends grey. I'm using my number cell 12 brush and my number 6, and I'm going to be using my fine liner ink pen, which is waterproof and is a 0.5 on the nib there, 0.5. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is to ink over our lines that we've already drawn on. So you can start anywhere you fancy. I just draw onto this top bit, I don't know why. And we're simply going to sketch these lines in. Keep it nice and loose. We want this to look lively rather than an architect's drawing, if you know what I mean. And when I did that little sketch, I did it all freehand. And this one I traced down from the image that I gave you. But if you want to go freehand, it's a nice one to do. And I started with the arch. I wanted to get the arch right, and then everything kind of hung off the arch. There we go, so we've got that in. And then we've got this strange structure providing some shelter. It looks like it may be made of perspex or something like that, coming across the top. And don't worry about wobbly lines. It's all part of the fun of sketching with ink and watercolour. I did turn the microphone on, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay. Up to this little bit of building that we can see here. And some indication of the stones. Okay. Coming inside the building, again, there's this perspex letting light inside the souk on the ceiling. So I'm just put in that area of light. And I didn't include it last time, but there is a window or something right on the inside here, so I'm going to put that one in. Where is my sketch from last time? Let me remember what I did. Yeah, that was about it for the detail inside. And then we've got some structures at the sides, a bit of corrugated tin roof here, and some hanging rails. And the same this side. Now notice that this is a side view of the corrugated roof, so it's quite small. And then as we come on the top, we've got bigger humps coming across, and we can just see some lines coming back. There we go. So I do like these busy market kind of scenes. Now we've got here a little cloth hanging down by the arch. I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to ignore whatever that is. I'm going to come the other side to these big drapes of fabric. Wonderful. And a more square towel. Let me bring the photo back over. There we go. And then coming down, we've got piles of rugs and pillows all stacked up, higgledy-piggledy. I like that word, higgledy-piggledy. And again, not putting too much detail, just picking out the main shapes, which brings us down to the table that they're sat upon. And some legs. Okay, so that's that side done, I think. And we'll come across. Now this table, we can see it going back, and it's almost a straight line because of the perspective. Okay, so now lots of drapery. Pick out the ones that you want to do. Put as many or as few. I wouldn't go too mean though, because we do want it to look like a well-stocked and loaded stall. Wonderful. I'd love to go here. Wander around. Maybe you've been. Just move that palette out the way because I keep knocking into it. So as you can see, if you look at the picture, there are lots of cloths behind this, which I'm choosing to ignore. Now, what's this bit here I've left? I'm going to add another one. I think I missed one out, so I'm just going to add another scarf in here. I'm just putting a suggestion of some hooks at the top. And some of these hanging rails. There's also a light bulb in here, which I didn't put in last time. And some square posts. I think I'm going to leave the light bulb out. One more bit of cloth there. And then again, we're coming into piles of linen and towels stacked up. Just indicating the edge of some of those cushions by putting this ellipse. On the front of them, so they look more like cushions. And I did the same here, you can see. Maybe this one could do with a line. Okay, which then just leaves me to the paving, or a little bit more wall popping down here. Coming across horizontally. I missed the table, let me just put the table in. And tiny little legs at the front. And then some lines coming from the middle and radiating out as they come towards us. So the perspective is quite narrow here and gets wider as we come forward. And there we have our sketch done. Oh, someone's talking to me. Hey, Mary. Yeah, it's nice and colourful. That's the thing. There's some quite simple shapes in the form of the robes hanging down. But it's a simple composition when you break it down. Now we've got this dark shape which takes us into the scene. Okay, so if we're looking at this, let me come back to the reference photo. We've got some light coming through the roof, but we've got this dark passage here, which is connected to the shadow on the pavement. So we've got this shape here. And coming across here, which is our dark. And then we've got our beautiful colours here and our light sky. So it's very simple shapes when you look at it as a whole thing and try and cut out the noise. I'm just going to rub out some of those extra lines that I sketched in that I've now not used. You want to do that before you start applying your watercolour. So any pencil lines that are left, there we go. It's nice and clean, ready for our application. Now the sky is going to be minimal part of what we're doing here today. It's all about this sort of vignette. So I've not taped off the edges because I don't plan in painting right to the edges. Similar to what I did here, I kind of allowed the painting to breathe. Right, we have a bit of my coffee and we'll add in some beautiful colours. Okay, so I want this lovely orangey colour for this wall. When I did it before, I did it in burnt sienna, but looking again at that reference picture, it's a bit more pinky. So we're going to mix up some quinacridone magenta and into that with a clean brush we're going to pick up some yellow to make our orange quite a reddy orange. I'm thinking, let me try this on a spare piece of card. Yeah, that's pretty close, isn't it? So in we go with our reddy orange, coming across the top. And the great thing, as I know I've said before, working in the ink and watercolour, is it gives you that freedom because you've got your lines that are going to hold the scene together. Just gone a bit too far there, so just wipe that off. So quite light. I'm starting with the lighter shade that I see in this wall, and we're going to continue it into the part of the arch that's coming inside the building. Don't forget these little bits down the bottom. And I'm going to take it a bit lighter, so more water as we come across the wall. In fact, a little bit more orangey there. So I'm adding a touch of yellow. And it kind of fades off here. I want it just to kind of fade off to the side. And our stack of bricks. Just there. Okay. So now we've got to this stage, we can start putting in some stronger colour. So I'm going to go creamier with my combination. Creamier, thicker paint. And I think I might add a touch of blue to that just to tone it down. Just a touch on the tip of my brush. She says just a touch, and look what I've done. Honestly, never mind. We can recover. I've put a ton of blue and now I've got green. Okay, so this is going to take it a little bit more deep. There we go. And I'm going to come into these darker spots, wet into wet, and just touch in randomly. Bit of shadow up here, bit of shadow down the side of the wall, gets darker as we come down. Dark down the bottom there, and we're getting that lovely pattern. A little bit of shadow on this wall at the side. And it's just allowing these other shades, placing them over the top and letting some of that colour underneath show through. I'm going to go a bit darker still. And I'm also waiting for the paint to dry back a little bit. There was a bit more blue in my mixes, so I've got a lovely shadow colour coming through. And then into the arch. Leaving a sliver of light around the edge there. Just playing with my colour where I dropped that blue in. Being careful not to pick up too much of that blue in my mixture. Touch more yellow going in. So we've got that nice curve at the top, taking us in. Now, what I should have done is put a little bit of ink around there, but we can sort that out afterwards. And a touch of this watered down colour at the side here, just taking it off and letting it fade away to the side. Okay, so we have our archway. That pinky tone's just about right. Managed to get away with it. I'm going to dry this off now with a hairdryer because I want to go into that middle to get some sense of depth going on in there. So let's dry that off. Okay, I'm going to get my size 6 brush and we're going to go nice. Actually, before we do that, let's do this pathway because this happens to have kind of similar peachy tones going on, particularly where the light's hitting, but more blue coming in. As I've got my puddle here already, let's use that. So I'm pulling a bit more blue into that puddle. Be careful that it doesn't turn green. Balance it with your red, your magenta. And I'm going to come inside the souk here. So this is my size 12 brush. And then come in, and this will join this archway. So there's some things piled on the floor here I've ignored, you may notice. Looking where that shadow falls, kind of here. So this all becomes one shape, joining up with the walls. Tuck in behind some of that material at the side. And I'm going to come down the front. And then we've got this pattern falling on the floor where we've got this light area. Try and bring your brush strokes horizontally across the work. And again, I'm just going to let this fade out with nothing much on my brush as we come forward. So I'm just picking up the texture of the paper as we come down to the bottom there. Okay. Now I'm adding more water to my puddle, and I'm going to come to the light. And again, clean my brush off and just scrumble that down the bottom. So we've got that light area, and I'm just going to strengthen that shadow. It's a nice strong line here. Now, of course, the floor isn't one single shade. We've got multiple colours going on. So I'm going to pick up some of my blue, and I'm going to bring in some blue, particularly to the sides. This is the bit where the blue has mixed in with my other shades. Oops. I'm being very heavy-handed today. Arguably, you could use Friends Grey. This will give it a nice, fresh feel. The colours will work well together. So into the sides, and then with clean brush, just dragging across the path, the pathway. Taking us on our journey into what's going on inside. Okay, Friends Grey time now. So mix up your Friends Grey. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna to it, so it's a really dark, dark brown. Nice and creamy. Switch into my size 6 brush, and we're going inside. So ideally, your pathway in this bit here should still be damp. If it isn't, then all I want you to do is bring your damp brush and work back over that area so you can soften that grey coming forward. I'm going to put a little bit of grey. Now I've got it on the brush, in the sides as well, in some of these really dark areas. This grey brown. Under the bench here, I think. And notice every time I'm pulling in, I'm pulling horizontally. That's better. So back inside. Nice and creamy. So we get this really dark. I'm trying not to lean on the areas that are wet. Lovely rich colour. You want to now be very neat around the edge of your arch. It's leading us in, taking us on our journey. Sorry, I just trying to get a comfortable position and knocked the table. I'm going to turn this around because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to smudge because this area is still damp. Spinning that round. This should be the darkest area, so I'm adding a bit more grey up here. And now I'm going back to the bit that's got brown in, burnt sienna, as we come forwards. Lovely. Nice and creamy and dark. Fading out, remember, through that doorway. Look how that takes us straight in. It just leads your eye in into the scene. Now, what I'm going to do and what I did before was, whilst this is damp, I'm going to lift out a little bit of colour to indicate something happening. So with a thirsty brush, a nice clean thirsty brush and a tissue to wipe it on, I'm just going to lift out, whilst this is still damp, your brush should be damp. If you find your background is dry, just work a little bit harder as you're wiggling your brush. And we're just making random shapes here. Nothing particular. Maybe another bit of light from the ceiling that's not as bright as the others. And it gives us that sense of movement, of things going on. I quite like it as it is. Shall we stop now? Loving these colours on the pavement. Oops. Okay. Whilst I've got this at the dry stage, I'm just going to take my fine liner and bring this edge in. Turn it upside down again so I don't smudge. Just giving that edge to the building there. Yeah, like that. Okay, I'm going to dry this off again, give you a chance to catch up while I'm drying, and then we are going to get some lovely colours going. little bit of coffee, keep my voice. Okay, I want to put a little bit of that sky peeking through. But first I didn't paint the sky last time, so I need to decide what colour I'm going to paint the sky. So we'll start with phthalo blue, which is nice, but a bit bright. So I'm going to add see if I can do a tiny bit this time, of magenta into that blue, so it starts changing to a darker blue. So as you add your magenta, you'll just change. That's a good, maybe a little bit more magenta. Bit more. Yeah, I like that one. That's closest. And I'm going to water it down. I'm going to come into the skylights. Now this thing I've left here to the side hasn't got blue coming through, so I'm just going to use that brown we used, really watered down. Pop that in there. And a touch of burnt sienna to the side. Lovely. Just make sure you pull your blue all the way to the edge. Okay. We've also got this perspex thing here. There's another line I've missed. I'm just going to pop that in. And there are some kind of small lines. Just scribble those in. And I think I'm going to go, I went blue when I did this last time. It's sort of bluey grey. So I'm going to add a touch of Friends Grey to the blue mixture that we've just used. To kind of make an indigo grey colour. And I'm going to come in here, leaving the edge clean. Pulling that across. Clean my brush out because it does get lighter as it goes back. There. And there's a bit of pink wool I missed. I've got a sliver of the pink left here. I'm going to pop that on there. Okay. Right. I think I'm going to do the dark shadows in between the cloths once I've painted the cloths. You're going to do it later. You're going to take your time over it. Okay. So you can go any colours you like with these cloths. I'm going to start with this one just on the wall there. Actually, should I put my sky? No, I'll do the sky later. Let me clean up the grey. I don't need that grey right now. Just nice area for some fresh colours to play with. Okay, make sure my brush is clean. And I'm going to make a few colours up. So let's make some orange. Nice bright orange there. Let's make some red. Remember, with your red, you're going to take your magenta and just a tiny bit of yellow. I want it a bit creamier. When you're mixing your colours, don't keep putting your brush in the water, because you're just going to keep diluting the colour. You want it creamy on the palette. So just use your tissue to clean your brush. There we go, let's have that red. We want some nice bright blue, so we're going to have phthalo blue. In fact, the blue's more turquoisey in the materials, so remember, to turn it turquoise, you're going to add a tiny bit of burnt sienna into the blue, and we get that turquoise. Okay, and there will be some brown cloths as well, but those are the main colours, maybe a bit of yellow on its own. So I'm going to start with this one that's just inside the doorway there. I'm going to pop a little bit of red on there. Let's go to a smaller brush. Just taking the paint a bit creamier still. You get a real pop of colour. And I'm going to go around and find anything else that I want red before moving on to the next colour. So there's a cloth here, right on the corner, and it has stripes on it. White stripes. I've not drawn the stripes in. Do some thin ones and some thicker ones. Just using the white of the paper for the band. Bringing that red down into the folds. There's no stripe in that bit. There's a stripe on the next bit. Put a stripe there. You can put the stripes wherever you want them. Fabulous. And now, opposite of red is green. We've got this turquoise mixed up. I'm going to add a little bit more burnt sienna into there to turn it green. And I'm going to use this dark green for my shadow colour, because it's the complementary colour to red. It'll give us a nice natural shadow in the folds. There we go. Let's go to our next red one. I'm going to come back over this side, give that one time to dry. And coming in here. Super strong, creamy red. Sorry, I've got hiccups from my coffee. Now the question is whether you ink these bands or not ink these bands. I think I will ink them afterwards. Okay, there's a bit more cloth at the back. Oops. The trick is not leaning onto what I've done already. And again, where I want to add shadow, I'm going to pick up this green made with the turquoise. I'm going to drop a shadow in here. So it mixes beautifully with that red and will give you a natural shadow colour rather than just reaching for the grey. We're going opposite of red, which is green. Lovely. Okay. Try not to put too much shadow because I don't want to dull them down too much. Let's go more red, maybe a little bit more yellow this time. And come into one over here. So skip one, maybe have this one. Orange. I'm going to take the stripes in a different direction. Maybe make them thinner. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm going to go to my yellowy orange, brightening that up and coming into, there's a blue one going to go there. So this one, nice sweep of that yellow. Got a little bit of blue on my brush, so I'm just going to soak that up because it's turned my yellow a little bit green. Popping that down, big strokes for this one. And then to indicate that it's got pattern to it, I'm going to drop some other colours in. In fact, I can see a little bit of a greeny hue in there, so I'm popping a bit of blue in. Bit of stronger, that orange that we used over here, dropping some of that in. All wet in wet. Lovely, a nice multicoloured shawl. I've just seen a bit that I've missed, so I'm just tidying up. Okay, where are we going next? I'm going to put some blue ones in a minute, but I want to get all these orangey ones. Another yellow based one this side, next to the red. Putting that down. Make sure your red's dry. And then this looks like some kind of tea towel. I'm going to come in and put in some hoops. Okay. Picking up a bit of that more reddy orange. Now I don't mind this one bleeding together. It's all fun. And I'm just going to draw a couple more bottoms there, I think. Kind of want a bit more red over there. Just going over my red again on this one to brighten it up. Wonderful. And let's go burnt sienna. I'm going to come burnt sienna. These lovely ochre colours. Now where I added the shadow on this red cloth, I didn't put shadow on the stripe, so I'm just putting that blue green back in to put shadow on the stripes and come at the bottom underneath that green turquoise and the red. There. Okay. Let's put some blue ones on. Turquoise blue, nice and bright. I think I've got some paint on my hand. Wonderful. Then opposite of blue, we're going to put some orange for the shadows. Think of your colour wheel. We've got blue. The colour that blue doesn't contain is magenta and yellow. So if we put magenta and yellow into the folds over the top of the blue, touch more magenta in there, we'll get a lovely shadow colour. In those folds. And it's really quite dark over that side, so maybe even a touch of grey. Sorry about that, guys. I normally remember to turn my phone off. Okay, I'm going to go for more a nice burnt sienna as we come across. A bit watered down. I'm going to pop a burnt sienna one back here. Maybe go a little bit stronger. But you can absolutely just have fun with your colours. Bring some brown down the bottom. And I think I'm going to have that yellowy orange peeking out here. Wonderful. Look at these colours. More blue on the other side. Have some blue coming out behind the red one. Going to take the blue a little bit stronger, add in some more burnt sienna. Dragging that through. Look, I like that colour actually. I'm going to put a bit more of that here. Beautiful. Now all I've done here is run that stronger, thicker blue whilst the base layer was still wet down this section, and it looks like the light's catching the left-hand side. Okay, a few more colours. Let's have a purple maybe. So quinacridone magenta and blue. I do like that dark teal. I've changed my mind. As you do. This one here behind the orange, I'm going to go for that lovely deep turquoise. Fading it out. I'm liking the turquoise, and it kind of speaks of Morocco to me. So I'm going to put an extra turquoise one this side as well. All the way down, and then going stronger. Much more blue. Maybe this one I'll have some bands of stronger turquoise. I literally just thought that as I started to apply the paint. Have a bit more pattern going on. Wonderful. Just softening my marks, making sure I've gone to the edges. Okay, I'm going to have some white ones. Now, I know there's no white ones in the picture. I'm going to use Friends Grey and my blue mixed together, like we did up here, to make this grey, soft grey colour. And these are going to be really light. So I'm going to apply water, clean water, to the cloth. To be careful that I don't go to one next to one that's still wet. Oh, thunder! Big thunderstorm. And then into the top of that grey colour, the same grey we mix up here. And I'm just going to let that fade down to white. It's gone very dark outside my studio, just noticed. And the same on this one. Wet it first. And another burnt sienna, I think, on the end. But nice and light. As we come to the edge of the painting. What should we put in here? Orange? I'm just filling in the gaps now, anything that I've missed. Maybe another burnt sienna. Oh, it's gone so dark, and suddenly I feel quite cold. Wonderful. I think that's a nice mixture of colours. Okay, a little bit more work to do over here. That same grey that we just used in there, I'm going to come into the canopy of this building, just a little touch, and fade it off. And the metal as well, the corrugated roof. And this side. Although it looks orange in the painting, but I'm going with the grey. I'm going to put a couple of marks in Friends Grey. Back inside, we've got these strange things coming over the ceiling there. So I'm going to pop those in. And I've left something here. I think that's the pink of the wall. I'm going to put the wall back in there. Nice. Okay, that leaves us with cushions. We've not done any green yet, have we? So how about we have some green? Nice and zesty. Nice and jewel-like. Wow. Can you hear that? It's my microphone picking up the rain. Horrendous. And a nice zesty cushion here. Whoa, the heavens have opened. Green there, maybe this one. Taking the green a little bit darker on the top of the cushions and lighter on that edge to help them look a bit more three-dimensional. It's absolutely teeming down outside. I actually realise I am not in Morocco. Cushion there. Let's have some red again. My word. Opposite of red, remembers green for some shadow. Taking the red darker and dropping some green over the top. I'm just really now dancing around with these colours and painting what I think will look nice. Wow, that is a proper storm. Next cushion. This one on the top's a bit more goldy coloured. I'm going to really weaken that colour down. Darken the edge. I think I should have actually darkened the edges rather than the top. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, let's use some of that grey tone, bluey grey. very light cushion on the top. And I've got one over here, which I'm going to do a nice bright orange. Maybe this one too. A little bit of brown. And using the brown for the burnt sienna for the top of the table and the front. This is very cute. Okay, just bear with me 1 second. I need to change my water. Okay, I kind of need a bit more colour down here. It's faded back to almost nothing. So we're going to create that peachy colour that we had. And then what did we do? We added some blue. So we've got our peachy colour that we used for the wall. And then a tiny bit of the blue to neutralise it. Oh. That's a little bit too dark, but if we take it over the path that's already there, I'm thinking then it will darken that area. And add a little bit of colour to the front. You see how it's darkening off to the side? Adding a bit more of that peachy colour to the front. Because obviously we're playing with the transparency of the watercolours, we'll get that effect. Okay, we've got the end bits of the wood to do and then some shadows. So I'm just going to put the little feet. Why I'm using my big brush, I do not know. They're in shadow. The ones this side, not so much. And then I'm going to come in between all these rails and things. Okay. Burnt sienna to start with, picking up any of the rails and these bits of wood. A little bit of burnt sienna under there. And now we can go in with our Friends Grey and brown combination like we use down here, nice and dark. And we're going to build the shadows carefully back here. So all I'm doing, I've got paint on my hand again, is coming in between into these gaps, these triangle shapes. Nice dark grey brown. I'm going to leave that one to the side for now, I think. I'm desperately trying not to mess up the edge of my paper. Turn that upside down. And the same this side. Turn that round again. Lovely. Now, if you want these bits to look a bit more interesting, what you could do is come through with a damp brush like we did in the middle and take out some shapes to make it look like something's there, but very subtle. So all I'm doing is kind of creating the illusion that there's more cloths back here just by pulling them out of the shadows. Okay, and down this side. I told you it's not as hard as it looks. Okay, I'm just going to lose this edge. And lose this edge just by scumbling, using your brush clean and dry. I think I will put a little bit of shadow up here. But then again, lose it, clean your brush and let it fade off at the side. Touch darker. I can't make my mind up. It's one of those days. Maybe it's the storm. And then shadows. under the table, nice and strong. Remember, with a cast shadow, it's going to have a hard edge. So you want to do this wet on dry, not wet on wet. And the other side, nice and dark, nice and creamy. Then I'm just going to darken along the edge here that we did earlier. Now, because this is material and it could be blowing and it's a softer shadow, this is where I just use my clean brush and pull and tease some of that shadow out from the side. A little bit darker over here as well. And pulling out from the side. There's a little bit of building that I've missed that sits in here. It's funny how you spot these things. So I need my peachy colour up there. I mean, you could leave it without sky. Could leave it just like that. Just putting a bit more shadow on this brick building here. Fiddling now, aren't I? A bit more shadow on that bit that I missed. Okay, I'm going to put a hint of a sky in. So let's clean that palette out. Make our blue again. Phthalo blue with a touch of magenta. Go easy when you're adding your magenta, or you get purple just like that. Where's my swatch? This is why it's good to swatch, because then you can come in and see that you're close to what you had before. Touch more magenta. Touch more blue. And normally we work a sky from top to bottom. I'm just going to come in wet on dry. Maybe a touch more phthalo blue in there after all. And just like we did in other areas, I just want to clean my brush off and take that off. To the side and to the top. Just going to lift a bit of that blue out closer to the building with a thirsty brush. Take a clean tissue. Fade it out to the edge. And there we have a very bright, colourful souk. What do you think? The shadows do bring it to life. Absolutely, they bring it to life. And as I said, what you could do at the end, or do it before, is come in with your ink pen to create some of those bands on your material, on your swags of cloth. Maybe on this tea towel. So you could do things like that. It's totally up to you. Well, the storm stopped. Just as the painting's finished, so is the storm. Here we go. A lovely Moroccan Souk. I hope you enjoy painting yours. I can't wait to see what colour materials that you hang up on your stall. And I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.